Oh, there we go. All right, here we go. Three, two, one. Hey, everybody, it's your main man, Jalo Mans, and welcome back to the Marketing Velocity Podcast, where we help you get speed and direction to effective marketing that just works. Today, I've got a superstar guy. This guy, I've been following him for a long time, Tyler Garnes, and this guy is the man over at Box Out Marketing. And Tyler, I want to welcome you to the show and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the audience.
Great. Thank you, Jaleel. Great to be here with you. Yeah, obviously we've been in contact for years, and it's great to connect with you here on the podcast. But yeah, I've been involved in internet marketing in some way, shape, or form since 1999. I've always been a tech nerd. So in high school, I took some programming classes, taught myself to program a bit, and then in college, got started in an internet startup, and kind of kept doing stuff on the side. And I've just always been involved in this stuff. So I've been doing it a long time. As you know, I was at Infusionsoft. I was the VP of marketing there. I was at that company for 5.5 years, left in 2012 to start my own consulting company, which eventually became an agency. And now that is Box Out Marketing. So we've been helping small business owners with their marketing for many, many years. So long that now Infusionsoft is no longer. It's now called Keep. The world changes every day. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, I got into that space maybe about 5 years after you left, but I mean, you were still a very prominent figure over at Infusionsoft. I know getting started, I saw your face a lot. a lot. And you've always brought tremendous value, which is why I was so happy to reach out to you, and even more excited when you accepted the invite to share some information about marketing strategy and helping people kind of overcome that same overwhelm that I got into when it came to marketing automation. So as you know, there are lots of great companies out there like Infusionsoft, Keep, the list goes on and on and on. And so it's easy to become overwhelmed by the tools. It's easy to find great partners in all of these spaces who specialize in different things and do very well at those things. But for a business owner, and I'm speaking about myself specifically, it was easy to become overwhelmed, like all the features and benefits of the tools. People had different strategies. I was reaching out over the, sixth division at Brad and going over there and talking to him about his methodology. And then I'd head over another direction and someone else had an equally great methodology. And so it kind of gets confusing coming up with a marketing strategy. And I know that's what you guys do over at Box Out. Could you share a little bit more about how you guys are helping business owners really get a handle on that marketing strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's before we talk about how we help, let's talk about the problem a little bit more, if that's okay. So I want to make sure anyone who's listening recognizes that they probably have this problem because they might hear you say, well, yeah, it's confusing, it's overwhelming, there's all this stuff, and they may not be feeling that at the moment. But the truth is, most people are dealing with that problem, whether they're feeling it or not. So let me just kind of paint the picture. Let's just say you're a small business owner. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're a landscaper, you're a photographer. It doesn't really matter what you are. What matters is that you are a master of your craft, right? You are an expert in whatever you do, which most likely means you're not a master at marketing, right? So let's just admit that fact. Now, some of you who are listening may have studied a lot of marketing and may have done a lot of work in that area. So yeah, if you're like Jaleel and you kind of have learned the ropes or whatever, so you're a little further ahead and maybe you don't have the same problem. But the vast majority of small business owners are not marketers. And because of all that confusion and the overwhelm that you just described, Jaleel, marketing tends to feel like this kind of voodoo science, right? It's like, well, I don't even understand. Like sometimes I do things and it works, and sometimes I do things and it doesn't work, and I don't really know for sure, like why something, why does a webinar work for this person over here, and I tried a webinar, it doesn't work for me, and it feels really, really out there, right? So what happens is, well, before we talk about what happens, let's recognize here that to a software company or an agency or a consultant, you as a business owner are a gold mine because of this situation, because you don't really know what's going on. they know that they can come to you and present their offers and charge you money and get your money. And also because of all of the like, I don't really know what works and what doesn't work. They also know that if their stuff doesn't work, they'll move on to the next customer who's feeling the same thing, and they got your money, And I don't mean to say this, that marketers are shysters or people are out to steal your money, but this is just the reality of the situation, right? So realize that you are, in the negotiating power scheme, you're like, you don't have much power because you don't know enough, and because you're in pain. You're in pain and you don't know enough. And so that causes you to go buy software or hire agencies or hire consultants or hire people in your company without fully knowing for sure if that's actually a good investment. And again, not your fault. It is just the circumstance you're in because you're not a marketer. You are an expert at your craft. And now you're left to figure out how to market your business. So that's the situation. That's the painful situation we're in. And having been in this world for a long time, almost every single person that comes to our agency to talk to us about getting help tells the same story. And that story is, oh, here we're so frustrated. We spent 10 grand with so-and-so. We spent 20 grand with so-and-so. We spent 5 grand over here. We've been paying for this software and, all of it has been a waste, or we've gotten very little benefit from it. And that is the problem that I'm out to solve, Jaleel. I hate that. I hate seeing small business owners throw away their good, hard-earned money in this situation. My dad was a small business owner. That's partly why I'm so passionate about doing this work, because I've seen firsthand in my own family, growing up, and then now in my own family, being the provider, and in so many other lives, how this can be so impactful. So what we're all about in a program that we call Marketing Strategy School is we help business owners learn to really own and direct their marketing strategy. One thing I've learned over the years is that the business owner cannot outsource marketing strategy. Yes, you can outsource all the pieces, right? You can have people build the stuff and do all the things and run your Facebook ads and whatever. But if you don't own personally the marketing strategy, and you don't understand the metrics to hold people accountable and what to tell them to do and all that kind of stuff, then you will continually flush money down the toilet, unfortunately. So that's what we're all about in a nutshell. You probably have some questions or things you want to dig into from there, but that's kind of what it's all about here.
Yeah, that's everything that you described was where I was at, when I first got involved and started looking at marketing automation software for my business, because I hit that point, I hit that wall, and I'm going to networking events during the day, so we have a little joke in Houston, it takes an hour to get anywhere, even if it's around the corner, right? But bottom line is that, I'd spend my day out there, networking, and then I'd come home and I'd, start writing some contracts or some deals I might have worked. And then after the business closes, I'm staying up all night and I'm, doing all the work myself. And I just kept saying to myself, there's got to be a better way, got to be a better way. And somehow, through some searches, that's where I found, various marketing automation software. And then came the challenge that you said was like the strategy. I see all the bells and whistles, and I see being able to automatically send emails and text messages and target ad groups and all this other cool things that we can do. But back to what you were saying, Tyler, I didn't really have a true marketing strategy that I own. I didn't have a way of looking at it and saying, okay, well, this email sequence is working great, don't change anything. Or I think a 40% open rate is good. Maybe I shouldn't change the subject line, but that's not really the metric that mattered for me, the business owner, right? I mean, it's important. I don't want to take away from that, but having that to own, and so you're the pro here, and I always lean on you for this. This is like the marketing strategy school sounds like that like missing piece that I needed to scale even further. And so, I mean, how does, once people come to you with that frustration, you put them into this marketing strategy school. And so what are some of those key metrics and things that as a business owner, I need to know or should pay attention to when I'm utilizing these tools and when I'm owning a strategy?
Yeah, that's a great question. What we should start off with here is a basic understanding of why some things work for some people and why they don't work for other people. This is one of the most common mistakes, right? We go to a conference or something like that. You see someone present on stage like, "Oh yeah, I made $1 million with this special funnel. If you just do this funnel, you'll be making $1 million too." And you're like, "Okay, sweet. How do I do it?" "Oh, well, it costs $2,000. Okay, here's $2,000." And you do it and it doesn't work. And you're like, "Wait a minute, what happened here?" Seemed so simple. That guy did it, and this lady over here did it, and it's all great. And I must be an idiot. And that's when you start thinking like, well, maybe the whole thing isn't for me. Maybe I should go back to getting a real job or whatever, right? So the reason that happens is because we fundamentally don't line up what I call your conversion model with your business model. Okay, so for example, a conversion model that uses a webinar is a certain type of conversion model, right? Your business model very well may not match up with that. Let's just say you're a plumber, local service business, really any local service business. You're not most likely going to do a webinar when someone calls up and says, "Hey, I got a leak. Can you come fix my leak?" Right? That's a big problem with the conversion model and business model match. And so when you go to a conference or you look online or you attend a webinar where someone's teaching some marketing strategy, I would say 9 times out of 10, the people teaching that stuff are marketers. They are what I call, we'll put them into one of these categories, which we'll talk about in a sec. They're influencers, not your Instagram influencer, but they're selling in education or information, right? They're speakers, authors, coaches. Their business model is an influencer model. It operates in a certain way, and a webinar is a perfect thing, a perfect conversion tool for that model. But if that's not your business model, then you should probably not listen to much of what they say unless they're presenting something specific to your type of business, right? So 4 business models. Here's how we break it down. Real simple. There's local service businesses, online service businesses, influencers, and e-commerce. They all operate fairly differently, right? E-commerce and that's not just selling stuff online. That's like selling widgets that you actually physically package and ship, right? So kind of your typical Amazon seller, or if you have your own e-commerce store or whatever. So that's e-commerce. Local service business, pretty straightforward. Anybody who sells a service and is bound geographically by their local area, they need to deliver that service locally. Online services would be something like a marketing agency or even a SaaS company. You offer a service, but it's not bound by geography. And then your influencers, like I said, are speakers, authors, coaches, someone selling information or coaching or education, something like that. So understanding what business model you fit into helps you then decide, okay, I need conversion models that match with this. And again, that's one of the biggest problems we see is that it's so persuasive to go listen to some expert that says, "Oh yeah, this new thing, it's awesome. You should do it. It works for everybody." Well, it doesn't work for everybody. It's got to match your business model. So just understanding that fundamental, basic level of it is really, really important. It helps you to then start to distinguish between the different offers out there. Okay, I understand now. I'm a local service business model. I need to find conversion models that match. Oh, that thing doesn't work for me. That guy that's up on stage. Nope, I understand now that that's not going to work for me. But whoa, maybe this thing over here, this could work for me, right? And it's not real hard to figure out what those different conversion models should be. You just think about, how do people come into my business? Well, maybe I'm that plumber that we talked about a minute ago, and the majority of people call me only when they have a leak. It's not like people are just normally sitting around going, "Ooh, I would really like some shiny new plumbing today." No, they kind of only call when you have an emergency, right? So how do you get in front of the people who have emergencies? How do you then bring them into your process? How do you then take care of the problem and then maybe upsell them or figure out another way to continue servicing them? That's a whole different model than online ads to a webinar to a whatever. And so understanding kind of your natural customer life cycle leads you to start to understand a conversion model that makes sense for your business model. Does that help, Jaleel? Does that make sense?
Oh, that's a tremendous help, because you're right. I mean, it's one of those things. I remember one of my first funnels was, how to write a book in 30 days, and this was a while ago. I think people are doing it now in a weekend or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I did this webinar, and that did not work. It wasn't the perfect alignment, or maybe my webinar was off. But it was an influencer who said, hey, I've sold my book, I've shown people how to write books through a webinar, and it worked great for me.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no alignment with the business. The conversion model wasn't matching the business.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I jumped right into it. So what did I know about the business end of it? I would just be happy that someone signed up, and then I would help them. But
Sure.
that it makes a lot of sense to break those down into those four categories, and then say, okay, let me logically make some sense. The plumber example was my favorite. I'm not going to sit on a webinar for a plumber. That's not going to happen.
Right.
Uh, so once you've got that business alignment and that conversion alignment, where do you take it from there?
Yeah. So there's a handful of things you got to understand. One is you got to understand how the creative pieces of your marketing work. Again, you as a business owner don't need to be the copywriter. You don't need to be the designer. You don't need to do that stuff. But you need to know how to direct those people, right? You need to know, like, kind of what's the high level plan. If you just go hire a copywriter and say, hey, write some copy that sells my product, they're going to write whatever the heck they want. And it very well may not match up with, what you're doing. Even prior to that, you got to get clear on your offer. That may have been the problem with your initial book writing offer. Webinar is probably not a bad conversion model to use in that situation. But if the offer is not right, then, it's gonna fall on deaf ears. And one thing I always tell people is, look, good copywriting cannot overcome a bad offer. So I don't care who you hire or what kind of copy you write. If the offer is not great, no one's going to buy. That offer's got to be presented right. It's got to be positioned correctly. People need to understand, how it fits amongst other offers. We call this positioning. So is it the fast one, or the easy one, or the cheap one, or the expensive one, or the whatever? You need to kind of position your product in a particular way that people go like, okay, I understand what it is, and I understand the advantage here. Oh, the advantage here is I'm going to get it done faster, or I'm going to make more money, or I'm going to do whatever. There's a lot of different ways you can position, uniqueness and things like that. But these are all key pieces of, once you get the conversion model and business model match, you got to start dialing in this other stuff, the offer and the creative. And again, you can hire people for this stuff, but if you don't understand the basics, then you're just at the whim of whatever they make up for you.
Yeah, that's definitely relatable. It's and you're right. Nothing overcomes a terrible offer. I did a website for a family member, and it was funny because she said, well, why is this process so long? Why does it take so long to put together a website? Like Wix said, I could have one in a weekend, or, something like that. And I said, well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. And so it cracked me up because she said, well, I thought you just kind of like take my brochures and stuff and you throw it up into the cloud, and then boom, this website comes back down. I was like, no, it doesn't necessarily work that way, because a brochure is just that, right? But when you talk about website copy and stuff like that, it has to be in alignment with the offer and how she does business, and so it was always a consultation a survey, right? So she would survey people initially just to say, okay, are you guys even a good fit to work with us, right? And then it would lead to a consultation. And so that misalignment is kind of where that went wrong. And thank God, it was a forgiving family member, because,
Yeah.
I could have easily gone out there and burned my reputation really bad. But, it's being in the trenches and learning these things and figuring them out, or coming to people like you who kind of already have that time in the trench, and, hey, don't step over there. There's a landmine, or there's a ditch over there you got to look out for.
Right.
And so, that's all great. So, you're aligning the offer and the positioning. So all of this now is starting to make sense. And so once you have that alignment and that positioning and the offer, are there, I mean, well, I guess I should just ask you, I mean, where do we go from there? I don't even know what to ask.
Yeah. Well, another piece of that people don't often realize is that the price of your product or service actually determines, in a large part, the conversion model you should use. So let's just talk through some scenarios. If I'm selling a $5 widget online that I'm going to package and ship to someone, Would someone want to sit on a 1 hour webinar for that? No, right? So what is it all about at that point? Low price products, it's all about pricing. Truthfully, it's all about, am I getting the best deal? And so, you might have lead capture mechanisms that offer coupons and things like that. Like these are what I call impulse buys. I don't have to check with my spouse. I don't have to check with my business partner. I don't have to pull open my phone, check on my bank app and see if I got enough money in there. I can just make that purchase right now. So I got to make it as easy and fast as possible for someone to make that decision and move forward. On the other hand, if I'm selling a $10,000 service, that's what we call a considered purchase. It's not an impulse purchase. There's a lot that goes into it. And so my whole funnel is going to be based around a lot more education, objection handling, proactively. Webinars very well could fit into that process. It's 99% of the time going to require a consultation. And so that's another, misstep that people make. Like, oh man, we spend so much time, on consultations. Can I just set up like an automated funnel that just people buy and while I'm sleeping and while I'm at the beach and whatever? It's like, well, no, not for this. If someone's going to spend that kind of money, they're going to want to talk to someone. And so you have to understand that the price determines what that funnel into it's going to look like to a certain extent. And, just understanding that, we have a whole breakdown in marketing strategy school of kind of the different price points and what types of conversion mechanisms you use for those different price points. It's critical that you don't mix those up, because if you do, you're going to end up with situations where people get on the webinar and they don't buy, or they get to the website and they don't sign up for the consultation, or they do whatever because it's not matched up correctly. That makes sense?
Those are all great points, and you're right. I'm not going to sit on a webinar for $20, $50 product. And it is important to move quickly. I mean, and that brings up somebody in particular in my mind. So Tyler, what would you say to someone who is constantly changing their offers? I try to help my friends and they say, well, I'm going to offer this. And then I'm like, did you sell any of those? Well, no, I got this idea for something else. Usually when you hear something like that, what's that little voice in Tyler's mind say?
So it all comes back to positioning, right? So we talked about this a moment ago, but you as a company should be known for one thing. Each product, if you sell multiple products within there, they should be known for one thing. They should be positioned very powerfully for one benefit. So if you keep switching up offers and you're offering different things that are unrelated or whatever, then you're going to be known for nothing. Because you can't, as an audience who's receiving all these messages, you can't keep it all straight, right? So, let's just throw out some examples here. If I'm looking for low prices on just kind of lots of general stuff, I'm going to go to Walmart, right? It's like they're the low price leader. They position themselves that way for just about anything you need. Low prices, good value, whatever. That's where you go. If I have my family with me and we need a quick bite to eat, fast food restaurant, most people will deny that this would be the first thought in their mind, but it is. McDonald's is like the family fast food restaurant, right? They position themselves that way. Now, most of us might have that thought first and then go, oh, we really don't like McDonald's. It's kind of gross. So we'll go somewhere else. But McDonald's has positioned themselves very powerfully as the fast food restaurant for families, right? And you could go down the list over and over and over and realize that big companies like this, what's the cool computer company? Apple, right? I mean, just hands down, you won't even think twice about it. It's the cool computer company. Even if you don't like Apple, you're going to have to admit that they position themselves as the cool computer company.
Absolutely.
There's so many other competitors out there over the years. And now it's like, I don't even know who the other competitors are. It's like, there's IBM, there's Toshiba, there's Acer. I don't know what's left. It's like they've all kind of died. But powerful positioning comes from the same message over and over and over and over and over and not changing it up. If you keep changing all over the place, then you're going to be known for nothing.
That's a perfect answer. And I'm going to make sure I forward this to the person I had in mind. So that, because I want to see my friends and my clients, successful. And, the truth of the matter is, part of the reason I started this podcast is because there are some fundamental things that I repeat over and over and over again because I know these things to be true. And then sometimes I know myself, my girlfriend said this to me at one time, and I was like, yeah, I really need to do this in my business. And she was like, I've been saying that to you this whole time, but it didn't make sense until Tyler told you, right? And I'm like, yeah, okay, good point, baby. You're right. So, I see exactly what you mean. And that's exactly how it needs to happen. So thanks for answering that one. And so we're back on track now, right? So what do we do? What do we do next, Tyler? We're moving towards a solid marketing strategy that works and we understand.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few pieces to this, a lot of pieces actually. But one of the things that we need to consider is, okay, if you're the business owner and now you're starting to get your head around all this stuff, you definitely should not be the one doing the work. I always like to have we have our clients do this. Divide up all the work that you do every day into 4 different categories. $10 an hour work, $100 an hour work, $1,000 an hour work, and $10,000 an hour work. You as the CEO should be doing the $1,000 to $10,000 an hour work, and you should be hiring people for the other stuff, right? And so building a marketing team, whether that's internal people or consultants or whatever, that's what you should be doing, but only after you've got all this stuff figured out so that you can direct the people correctly, right? So I would take a minute to kind of analyze, okay, where am I spending time that I should be hiring out because I could be making more money if I focus on the higher dollar an hour stuff. Am I clear enough on everything that we've got going on here with our marketing that I can hire those people and effectively get them to do the right stuff? And then second step from there is, what are the metrics that I'm going to hold them accountable to? Again, we have a whole module on this in our marketing strategy school, teaching what these metrics should be and how you track them and how you avoid getting like data overwhelmed, because that's the problem with the internet these days is we have data on everything. And it's really easy to get yanked all over the place with all this data. Your Google Ads person tells you like, oh, look, well, you're getting 3-cent clicks here. Okay, well, I'm getting 3-cent clicks. That sounds awesome, but I'm getting, $5,000 cost me to get a sale. So, and I'm selling $100 thing. So that's not working. But you got to know how to focus on the right metrics, how to make sure you understand that the metrics that your consultants are giving you probably are vanity metrics for them, or they're metrics that they're focused on, but maybe don't drive to the bigger whole. So those are really key pieces as well. Understanding how you hire and manage the right people, how you hold them accountable, and the right metrics to utilize in the process.
Yeah, that's very important. And as in my earlier days, was a huge challenge because sometimes, I would hire that person to build out my funnels. And then, I found myself being led at the dance, right? And I'm like, okay, I guess that's okay because you're the pro. So we're gonna box step when we should be doing the Cupid shuffle, and then when it comes in, I'm like, hey, what happened? We ran a campaign, I didn't get any sales, you said this was the right thing to do. And so, managing those people becomes important. And that's where I took kind of a little shift. And I did this experiment, which is very costly. But I hired 5 virtual assistants. None of them had any experience in digital marketing or VA work. And I trained them up myself just to get the result that I want. So there'd be no bad habits to, try to fix or anything like that. 1 out of 5 survived, Tyler. 1, right? And I paid them all out, and just 1 survived. And so that was there was a wake up call for me, because I'm like, if this is what happened, starting with a clean slate, like, I'm scared now, because either this is a reflection that like I'm not giving direction well, right? Or, I needed something in my experiment that was, the base, which is the no experience part. So a lot of that would kind of fall back on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it helped me realize that, I must not have been communicating it well, or I wasn't holding them accountable to the correct things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was an expensive learning experience. And by the way, if you guys are listening, please don't try that. It's costly. All right. It could be costly to your business and definitely to your bank account. So I don't recommend that unless you have money to burn. So, that's great. And so now you're helping, business owners really kind of tune into, okay, I've got you in these 4 buckets, 10 bucks an hour, $100, $1,000, 10,000. And so now I'm more focused on what I need to be doing, what's, basically revenue generating activities in my business, right? And then I'm kind of delegating everything else down to other people. And so you're really helping people lock in on, okay, these are things that are important when you have these 10 and $100 an hour people. Um, what kind of insights or next steps come from there?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's interesting is I actually really like your experiment idea, right? Like, let's hire these 5 people that have never done this before, start from scratch, teach them the right way, and see how it goes, right? Theoretically, it sounds like a really good idea, but I can see how it could go bad, and it probably has more to do with culture and skill set, right? So that's one of the things that we've done since the very beginning, and we encourage our clients to do, is really define well the culture of your business, and then hire for culture fit first over skill set. The skill sets that you want typically too are, sometimes you want the exact skill that you're hiring for. Hey, I'm going to hire a Facebook ads manager. I want someone who has actually done this before and they've proven that they can do it. And then on top of that, I want to make sure that they've done it in my industry. They understand our conversion model. They've driven ads into that kind of conversion model. Not, maybe I'm a service business and they've driven ads for e-commerce. Those are totally different things, right? So, I want to make sure there's alignment there. And once I understand like that, my strategy and all the pieces to it, then I can be clear on who I'm hiring there and not make any mistakes. But otherwise, I'm like, oh, you're a Facebook ads expert? Oh, sounds great. You're hired, not knowing that they don't have the right kind of experience for my business model, right? But back to the culture stuff, making sure they're a good culture fit, that they align with the core values and the skill sets underneath the skill sets. So, maybe I'm hiring someone to manage ads, but they've never, done Facebook ads before. But if they've got skill sets for like, they've proven to be an experimenter, a tester, they tinker with things. I like to ask questions along those types of lines. When I've hired web developers and things like that in the past, I'll ask them, what do you do in your free time? Some of them are like, oh, I like to just make up programs. I just code. I'll tweak things and play with things and whatever. This is what I do on my weekends. I'm like, great. I need someone like that who's just going to get in, tweak, figure it out, play with it. Like, they just absolutely love it. If they're like, yeah, you know what, I really enjoy painting on my free time. I'm like, you know what? Maybe we should be talking to you about a graphic design position. Like, I want to align their passions and their true, like, natural born skills with the actual work that we're going to be doing, so that they enjoy it, they love it. They, when they don't have experience doing what we're about to do, because we might be trying something new, that they've at least got the internal skill set to go figure that out, right? And it's not just like, oh, this is way outside my wheelhouse. So, there's a lot we could talk about, and hiring people and training them, that kind of stuff. But there's a couple of things I've learned over the years.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, I think that's kind of like the technician in nature to me. And, I've interviewed some other people on the podcast too who are like that, just I'm just going to keep experimenting, and start. Well, I'm not really good at email marketing. I know how to do it, but right, I'm going to keep playing with these subject lines. And even in a corporate environment that I worked in once, I actually had to convince my supervisor about emojis and subject lines. And he's like,
Yeah.
that's too childish. And so, I had to pull up some articles and say, okay, look, this is actually increasing 2 and 3%, and then overall we're looking at the big picture. And so, he's like, okay, you did the research, now time to test it. Okay, great. I'm going to put 2 emojis in there. Hopefully I'm not going to make anybody mad, but let's see how it works. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of those things. The technician in me likes to kind of dabble in that and say, okay, well, yeah, I had a great open rate there, but what could I have done differently to get that click through rate that I was looking for? And so I can see how that's extremely valuable. Some things you can teach, right? And there's lots of things out there, resources you could use to teach somebody something. Your Facebook certifications, your Google certifications, right? But you can't teach that passion or that tinker mentality of like, that kid who takes the toy apart that you bought him for Christmas, and you come in and you're like, oh, nice, that remote car is in 100 pieces on the floor, right? But it's that kid's natural curiosity that says, I want to figure out how this thing works.
Totally.
And that's really a great place to start. So those are all valuable insights, man. I never really thought of it that way. And so where do we go from here, Tyler? You're leading the dance.
Well, look, I mean, like I said, we could talk for hours on any one of these individual subjects. I'd say if people are interested in talking to us about this stuff, they could go to marketingstrategies.school. That's actually the domain. So just type that into your browser, marketingstrategy.school. We run this school, this program, once a quarter. And so if it's enrollment time, then you'll be able to sign up on that page. If it's not, then you'll be able to get on the waiting list for the next enrollment time. And when you get on the waiting list, we'll send you some other, good tips and information and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's the next step from here. If you want to dive in deeper, are there any other topics or questions that you wanted to talk about, Jaleel, that we should jump into?
I don't think so. I mean, you've covered a lot, and you've given me so much to think about, and different ways to think about, how I've been doing business, and how this can help, the entire audience that's listening. I'm very curious about marketing school. I'm going to be checking that page to see when it opens again. I'll be on the wait list. There's no doubt about that. But I love what you're doing, because you're saving the sanity of lots of business owners. Like, I know this, I wanted to put my head through a wall at some point, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I did the webinar, I did the, funnel to phone call, and they're just not aligned. It's not working, and I tried switching software, and that's not it either. Right. And so you've given us a lot of perspective on, really owning that strategy and saying, okay, great. I know this is how it's supposed to be done. I've got the task broken out. I'm not going to waste time doing $10, $100 an hour things anymore. I'm going to work on, growing and scaling the business. And then knowing that I have clear direction that I can give these people, so that everything just comes together and clicks as it should. So I really appreciate you taking time out, Tyler. I mean, you're welcome back anytime, because I'm sure you've got
no
a
worries.
lifetime.
Jaleel, I love that your podcast is called Marketing Velocity, and you always talk about direction and speed, right?
Mhm.
Because what we do at Marketing Strategy School is we give direction. We have very, very clear direction, help you get super clear on your direction. And when you have clear direction, you can run as hard as you want. You can go fast. But if you don't have good direction, you go running hard, you're going to smash into a wall. You're going to drive your truck into the house down the street. It's like everywhere you go, you're hitting something, you're running into dead ends and whatever. And so that's our whole goal, is to give you very clear direction so that you can go run hard and fast and get the results that you're looking for. So I love it.
Yeah, I do. Anytime you're working on something, you're always welcome back, because, this is, I want you guys to know Tyler charges for this kind of information. So this is, this podcast is invaluable to you. If you missed it, you came in halfway through, you should definitely go back and check it out from the beginning, just so that it all clicks, it all makes sense, and definitely get on that wait list or sign up for, marketing strategy school, so you can stop putting your head through the wall. You can reduce your budget on aspirin and things like that, and just really start focusing on getting results. Thanks again, Tyler, so much. All the links that you guys are need, his social and everything, you'll find in the show notes. And, it's been a great time. I will see you guys next time with another super qualified expert to help you guys find the speed and direction that you need in your business. All right, guys, see you next time.
Thanks, Jaleel. See ya.
And we're waiting. Yeah, Google's a little weird about stopping sometimes. All
Yeah,
right.
we use Google Meet as well.